Making another podcast, Jimmy D and the Wolf.
See, I can't do it wrong. Everywhere I move, I've got a good angle on this side.
That's just you got all good sides, Jimmy.
It's tougher on his side. We've got all good sides. Yeah, man. I'm excited about this because we're going to talk about all kinds of different stuff. We're going to talk about music, writing, business,
absolutely,
current events, sports, which is one of the things that has been on my mind recently. I know we had talked about discussing music on this one, but
let's talk sports.
The whole thing with Tom Brady, man. Coming from, I'm from Southern Indiana. I've been a Colts fan my whole life. And Tom Brady might as well be like the Dark Lord Sith, He's like the ultimate bad guy to Colts fans and Hoosiers. And now that I'm kind of realizing his mortality, the strangest thing, it's almost like I'm going to miss him, man. Now I'm like, and I've hated him forever. For like the last 15 years, I've been like, when's this guy going to slow down, retire, go away, quit winning Super Bowls? And now all of a sudden it's like, he's really not going to last forever. And I've developed like a soft spot for him. But being the same age, I can't help but root for the guy.
He's 42, yeah.
He's 42, and I'm 42. And, who knows? Maybe they still are tied for the best record in the NFL. Maybe he goes out and wins another one. And
I think that's probably what he wants.
One more. But I know
So who's got 5? Who else has got 5?
He's the only one.
Oh, so why'd you say tied for best record?
They're tied for the best winning record in the NFL right now.
Oh, okay. You're not
the
talking
Patriots
about
this season.
Super Bowl.
They're still everybody's kind of writing them off and saying, they're not any, he's fallen off. They're not very good. They're still like the winningest record in the NFL. He's just shown signs of being a human being and not a machine. Yeah. But it's just funny how like my feeling towards him has, evolved and changed so much through the years. Because all those great Peyton Manning-led Colts teams, we could never beat him. We beat him once, and we could just never get past Tom Brady and the Patriots. And now I've developed sort of a soft spot for the guy.
Well, as we've talked many times, I am not an NFL fan. I mean, I don't follow it. I barely watch the Super Bowl, mainly for the commercials, I guess. But I'm probably the most, I don't know how you could be more zealous as a Celtics fan.
Yeah, sure.
I guess there are people more zealous, but the first thing I do every day, even in the off season, is Google Celtics news. I love the business decisions. And so by default, when you're on these websites, these blogs and whatnot for the Celtics, they just assume you're a Boston sports fan, and there's all kinds of articles on the Red Sox and the Bruins Patriots. And, of course, the Patriots.
Sure.
So you're like, some of them, and they're made for clickbait. They've got headlines that attract you. And so I've kind of gotten an interest. And then from another standpoint, anybody who's older than the norm for what they're doing, I'm rooting for them. Because I'm definitely older than the norm for, someone who's just coming up as an artist. So sure. Tom Brady's 42 years old. And playing at a high level. Yeah, he's probably not at the level he was when he was younger. So I'm rooting for him for that. And I'm also, the man's married to a supermodel who just absolutely adores him. I mean, the guy's got the dream life, right?
Yeah, and it's funny, man. It's like so many people hate on Brady. And the few interviews that I've seen with him, it's really hard not to like him, man.
He seems like a great guy. He seems like a quality guy. Yeah.
As a Colts fan, but it's really hard. I mean, like I saw an interview where he's talking about his dad, and he gets teared up and talking about his dad being his hero, and it's like, screw it, I like him. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to.
Your son, don't. If your son, listen, here's this podcast.
Yeah, right.
He may say, "Dad,
yeah,
I'm disowning you as my dad."
I know. Yeah. Memphis, my oldest, he's a super Colts fan. We can't stand the Pats, but I do have a soft spot for the guy. Like it or not, man, there's just no way around it now. And it's like our kicker as a Colts fan, he's fallen off. He's done. He's cost us a few games this year. I think he's 46, 47, something. He's the oldest player in the NFL, Vinatieri.
Yeah, he's from South Dakota.
From South Dakota.
Where I'm from,
He's from your stomping grounds.
Yeah, and he who was he with when he hit some big
The Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots, right.
They won a lot of those Super Bowls.
Because of him.
Because of his kicks. Yeah, he was like Mr. Clutch. And it's been interesting this season as a Colts fan because he's flubbed a few. But so is the place kick holder. The place kick holders cost him a couple of those misses. But they just signed a new kicker off of waivers, and he'll be gone. They're saying now he has an injury, which I don't know if he actually has an injury or if they're trying to
it's hard.
play it so he can go out with as much dignity as possible because he's the greatest kicker to ever play. But it's been bittersweet, man. I mean, seeing that guy beat us so many times and then end his career with us and cost us some games. It's just like Patriots, man. They just don't seem to go away. They're omnipresent in the minds of Colts fans. They're omnipresent. They're like everywhere. It's like we beat you on this. We beat you this year. Now
we're beating you with our kicker.
Our kicker's gonna beat you, even if he's on your team. He's still going to beat you. It's like, what's going on here, man? Can't we get past this?
Of course, my nephew, Seth, is a huge, I don't know about huge. I mean, he is a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
He has been since he was, I remember him wearing Dallas Cowboys gear or jerseys as a young boy. He's been a fan a long time. And the family, my sister, my brother-in-law, and their two sons have gone to Cowboys games in Dallas. They live in Arkansas, my sister and her husband. So he's kind of grown up as a Cowboys fan. And if I ever talk about Brady around him, I mean, he's just with a very, very nasty tone will say, that cheater. And we joke around about it.
Sure.
But he's got that reputation. I mean, could he not have known about the deflated balls? I mean, there's no way.
Well, the thing is, man, I mean, just from in my mind, just from a street smart perspective, there's so much money being thrown around in the NFL. Did they cheat? Yeah. Does every other team in the NFL cheat? Yeah. Maybe they were just better at cheating than all the.
Yeah.
They have the rings to prove it. It's hard for me to believe, oh, yeah, they're the only team that cheated. Because you're talking serious revenue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, an
Those
average NFL franchise is worth north of $3 billion, I think.
Yeah.
Because I know, an NBA, again, big NBA fan, I remember when, his name escapes me right at this moment, but he bought the Clippers from that racist guy that had him for forever.
Right.
He's one of the co-founders of Microsoft, and I can see his face, can't think of his name. Anyway, he paid $2 billion for the Clippers, and that was a record number. Oh, who could believe that? Now, and the Cowboys is the most valuable NFL franchise to this day, because I sometimes Google that and look that up. I'm always interested in the business side of it. And they're worth, I think, $4 billion, maybe more. I have to look it up. They're the most valuable. So an NFL franchise worth more than an NBA franchise.
Sure.
It's still America's game. I mean, so yeah, you're right. With all that money, I mean, that's money. My ex-partner used to always have a mantra. He would say, whatever we'd be talking about, more times than not, he'd pull out, ends up always being about the money. It's always about the money.
And it is.
And that could explain a lot of things.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's really hard to believe that they're not all cheating if they can. I mean, they've gotten busted a few times, but, as a Colts fan, there were stories about them piping in noise into the stadium. I don't know that happened or not, but I could guarantee you with that kind of money being thrown around, NFL teams are doing anything they can do to get the advantage.
Heck, Red Auerbach, the famous manager and coach for the Celtics in the old Garden in Boston, there was no hot water in the visitors' locker room. I mean, Mike.
You ever had the hot water go out on you in the middle of a shower? It's like the worst thing that can possibly happen to you. Could you imagine trying to play a sports game on that level when you had a cold shower? Or you just lost, you know? You just got beat. Now you got to take a cold shower. You would never want to go back.
No. I hate going to the Garden.
Like mentally, that gets in your head in a certain way. It's just like, no, I don't want to go back into the cold showers. Or they'd be even worse if they just shut it off all at once. You know, you got your hair all lathered up. I've had that happen to me, man. It's like the worst feeling in the world for a shower to just go cold.
You know, so yeah, anything to get an edge. I mean, that's sports, has been for forever. I mean,
right.
You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger famously, you know, he was the best bodybuilder. I guess at the end, he only competed in one, Mr. Olympia, which is used to be the granddaddy. And he was great at trash talking before anybody else did. And I remember I read his book, Pumping Iron, and I remember the one story that I do remember from that book is that he, like one of his opponents had his calves were probably his weakest body part. And so for the entire year, he worked on his calves in between the Mr. Olympia. And so he comes back 1 year later, and he's really proud of all this work that he put on his calves, you know, because he really worked on his weakness and made it, he thought, into a strength.
Sure.
And Arnold sees that, sized up the situation, and he says, "Hey, buddy, looking pretty good, but you need to work on those calves." And the guy, he just demoralized the guy,
exactly.
You know, because he's thinking,
gets in his head.
I mean, so Arnold was a trash talker. I mean, so the best ones really are. I mean, Michael Jordan is famous for being an incredible
right. It's
Larry
brilliant,
Bird.
man.
I mean,
it's brilliant once you psych somebody out like that, and that, you know, come not to beat up the subject, but to come back to the Patriots. That's exactly what they do. They figure out somebody's weakness and attack, and that's what Belichick's so brilliant, man. I mean, there's no way to scheme against somebody like that. It's like watching the art of war unfold in a NFL game. Just watching how he schemes and plans for these teams, and oftentimes it's so simple. It's brilliant. But yeah, that's it's interesting to see it happen on that level. It's like a microcosm of the human condition. I mean, I think that's why that's why sports appeal to us so much, because it feels a basic human need for us to make battles and make wars, and you know, that sort of thing in sports. It's better to say, well, I'm a Browns fan. Well, sorry about your luck, because I'm a, you know, Steelers fan. Well, we're on opposite teams. That's way better than throwing rocks at each other, but on a certain level, it still is that same thing. I think it's a microcosm of the human condition. In my mind, I think there's a deep thing that happens there that we're not even necessarily always aware of.
well, so there's a level, trash talking. You get the trash talking that people do, and I would never engage in trash talk. I guess maybe I'm not a serious enough fan, but if like somebody is a Lakers fan, I'll make a joke like, I don't know, we think we can be friends, because you know, if you're a Celtics
Sure.
and Lakers, those are the, you know, deepest, you know, as
Serious
a Celtics
rivalry.
serious rivalry, you know, long term, and especially, you know, the Celtics have 17 championships and the Lakers have 16, and of course the Celtics fan says that half of them don't count because they were when they're in Minnesota. You know, that's what a Celtics fan is going to say. I'm a Celtics fan. I'm going to say that.
Sure.
So Lakers really don't even have 10 yet because it doesn't count when they're in Minnesota. But I guess common knowledge, they let them have all of those. And so, man, they're looking pretty good this year.
Yes,
I mean,
they do look good.
They're the top ranked power ranking team in the NBA, and LeBron.
They play as a team too.
Yeah. So
And it helps that they let LeBron start at the 3-point line and walk all the way to the goal before he slam dunks it without dribbling the ball. I actually saw that. I promise, dude. I saw the video this morning.
And you're not cynical at all.
Not at all. I saw the video this morning where, dude, and I like LeBron. I think he's a great person. But I saw the video this morning. He literally got it at the 3-point line, dude, and did not dribble it once. And it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna let him do that. So they might tie your Celtics at the rate that the refs are calling. At the rate the refs are calling travel on them. Yeah.
Wow, what an iconic finals it would be. Now everybody writes off the Celtics, although there was a period a couple of weeks ago that they were near the top of the power rankings. They might have been at the top. Every week, either it's SI or ESPN comes out with the power rankings. I don't remember which entity. And there for a minute, for 1 week, the Celtics, I think, were at the top. They'd had a really good week. We got Gordon Hayward, who had that horrible injury 2 years ago.
That.
His foot was at right angles to his body, and then he came back. He was out for a whole year, and then he came back. Last year, he really wasn't himself. He started out the year playing at an all-star level. Just amazing. He broke his hand out 6 weeks. Apparently not as bad as Steph Curry. Steph Curry's out longer than that.
Yeah, what a comeback, though.
What a comeback, yeah.
Injury.
He'll be back they're saying by Christmas, but apparently I've seen reports that he'll be back sooner than that. So he should really help us. But, we don't have, LeBron. They got 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA.
Sure.
Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Sure.
I think most people would say top 10 players. We don't have a top 10 player.
I think they're easily top 10 players. I loved the Celtics when I was a kid. Being from Indiana, it was all about Larry Bird.
Absolutely.
And I loved watching those teams with Larry Bird and the Chief.
Yeah, love Larry Bird. I remember
Larry Bird would just play with people.
He would. Yeah, he was like, he would get bored and he'd say, this game I'm only going to shoot with my left hand.
Yeah.
My offhand.
Right.
And he did.
He said that thing, man. He had that thing that Bill Belichick has, that thing that Tom Brady has. Like, Larry Bird certainly wasn't the most athletic dude.
No, he was slow. He couldn't jump.
But nobody could measure how bad that dude wanted it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just wanted it so bad.
Absolutely. He's not very attractive looking.
Tenacity.
Do you ever see the commercial? I can't believe he allowed it to happen, where it's Tweety Bird and Larry Bird. And you remember that? And Tweety Bird says, I think we're related.
Yeah,
no,
right.
We're not. Well, we have the same last name and we look alike.
Yeah, exactly.
And Larry Bird is able to make fun of himself. I mean, that's literally making fun of yourself.
Well, I'm sure he heard worse than that in some of those games because he was always talking. He was
a trash talker too. Supposedly as good or worse than Michael Jordan.
I remember seeing that when it happened, almost like the changing of the guard from like Larry Bird and Magic. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, yeah, it's Michael Jordan's game. I remember watching that. I love those Detroit Pistons teams back then too. The Bad Boys teams with Dumars, Rodman, and those guys.
Yeah,
used to love it. But now it's a struggle.
Bill, what's the big guy? Bill
Lambier.
Lambier, yeah.
Man, I hated fights. Him. He always had the thing on because his nose was always broken. He always had the thing on his face. It's like, leave him alone, Bill.
When I lived in New York and Manhattan in the 90s, Celtics were horrible because Larry Bird had retired, had tragedies. Lenny Bias was drafted second, would have been the second Larry Bird coming resurgence, and then snorted cocaine the night of celebration and died. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Horrible. And then in the 2000s, we had Anthony, what was his name, died of a heart attack on the court. Just bad news. That's why the Celtics were bad for like 20 years. Our star players kept dying.
It's a bad stroke of luck.
Anyway, so I was living in New York, and so I got many season tickets to the Knicks back when they did go to the final. They did when those 2 years when Jordan was out. I want to talk about Indiana teams. I remember watching the game. I might have even been at it because I had season tickets when Reggie Miller
scored
like 10 points in 8 seconds.
I was watching it.
Holy crap.
It was great. Reggie was the best thing we've ever had, man.
He was amazing.
Yeah, Reggie was amazing. And we battled Jordan so many years, like we would get him to Game 7. We could just never get past him. Those Pacers teams were awesome.
That's too bad Reggie didn't have a ring. I mean, he was that good.
He
of a
deserved
player.
one.
He deserved one.
One of the purest shooters I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter what his legs were doing.
Even though he had tiny ears.
His little bitty ears. If only he could have heard better, we probably would have won. We probably would have won a couple of championships if you could have heard Jordan coming at you, Reggie.
Is this? Are we going to be merciless? I guess we are. We're still setting
man. I just threw the greatest Indiana Pacer in history completely under the bus. Yet I think we're gonna have to be merciless.
Oh, maybe we leave it on a high note.
This might get me beat up back home. Yeah, let's leave it on a high note.
Or low note.
I love you, Reggie Miller. You really are like my favorite NBA player of all time.
All right, this is Jimmy D and the Wolf Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Peace.